In Le, Damien wants to know what Nate is after. He already has a job and is wondering why he came all the way out of there from Wisconsin to offer him another one. Winters must have people breaking down the door to get in, so why me? What's the angle? There's got to be more to this story. Nate says he's right, there is more. Nate assures him his desire to hire him is legit, but he came out to meet him for personal reasons. He was intrigued by his restlessness and used to be a doctor. Damien asks what happened to Dr. Hastings. Nate says it's a long story, but his family gave him a shot in the business, and he realized it's where he belonged. Damien asks how he fits in. Nate saw his resume and sensed a kindred spirit. He wanted to pay it forward. Nate asks why he changes jobs so often. Damien says he's picky. When he feels he's treading water, he moves on. Nate appreciates the honesty. Damien guesses this is where their similarities end. Nate replies, "You'd be surprised." He admits that Damien's story isn't adding up for him. Perhaps his restlessness isn't random, and he knows exactly what he's doing and why he's doing it. Nick joins Chance at Crimson Lights, and the cop tells him he can't join the police search for Sharon. His guys are trained. Nick says they'll get help whether they want it or not. He asks what the police already know. Chance says the diver's been underwater for hours and hasn't found a thing. There's no sign of Sharon anywhere, dead or alive. At the ranch, Victor has updated a stunned Michael on Ian Ward being out of prison and an ordained minister. That man plays for the devil. I'm afraid his game has already become deadly. Michael learns that Victor thinks Ian is responsible for drugging Sharon and for Heather Stevens' death. Michael debates. Victor insists Ian is a fraud and isn't reformed. They need to find out why he's there. He's deadly. In their motel room, Ian tells Jordan there's nothing in the news about Sharon's crash or death. Jordan is sure it will show up. Ian says there's been enough time for the police to find the car with Sharon in it. Did she take care of things exactly the way he told her to? Jordan says she has done everything he's asked of her. Ian questions, "Then where's the proof, Jordan?" Jordan tells him she drove the car to the river to the exact spot where Heather's body was found. Sharon's body was inside, out cold. She made sure the tire tracks went to the river as well. She accuses him of not appreciating her work. Ian's concerned about the quiet. Jordan says maybe they haven't found the car of the body yet. "You've got to relax. We're in the clear. Sharon's not going to bother us anymore." In the sewers, Sharon cries for help and struggles to break free from the shackle around her wrist. She cries again for help, growing increasingly despondent. Cameron appears and says, "I was wondering when you'd finally feel the need to conjure me back up. Hey baby, did you miss me?" Sharon tells him she doesn't miss him at all. Cameron snarks, "And yet, here I am. You must really be desperate." Sharon can't argue with that, but doesn't want his help. Cameron says she must, or he wouldn't be there. Sharon worries she was drugged again. She feels strange. Cameron rants about the bad memories he has of this place, given it's where she stabbed him in the heart. "I have PTSD. He thinks whoever drug her down there has a sick sense of humor." Sharon has no idea who it was. Someone came up from behind her at Society and chloroformed her. She was in a motel room, and then the next thing she knew, she was chained to the pipe. She worries that her water is running out. What if they don't come back, and I'm stuck down here forever? In Le, Damien laughs that Nate's known him for 5 minutes and thinks he has him all figured out. Nate shrugs that it's just a theory based on the Count of Monte Cristo. He has all his candidate vetted and found out he moves almost as much as he changes jobs to Dangler-owned apartments. He guesses both of the companies are owned by the same person. Damien congratulates him for being thorough. Nate needs someone he can trust. Obviously, this parent company trusts him. Damien plays along and asks what the next step would be, and what exactly his position would be at the family company. Nate tells Damien that Winters would benefit from having him on board. Damien says that's not a job position. Nate tells him he'd be in the finance department, and if he excels, the sky's the limit. Damien says it would be a good fit, but he's curious why he'd assume he'd want to leave his comfortable undercover role in LA to move to cold Wisconsin. Nate says money. He wonders if Damien is interested and reminds him Winters is the big leagues. At the ranch, Victor tells Michael that Ian claims he sent a letter to the police for insurance in case something happens to him. Find out if he really did. Michael tells his boss to consider it done. Victor says they have to find out a way to get rid of him discreetly. Michael says that won't be easy given he's deliberately made his return high profile. Victor reiterates that they have to get rid of him. Michael asks what he means by that exactly. Victor says, "You know what I mean." He urges Michael to find a legal means of putting him back in jail. Michael complains it won't be easy. Victor reminds him he always comes through. Michael will see what he can do. Victor barks, "Get it done." At Crimson Lights, Chance and Nick feel bad for Sharon, who has been through so much. Nick is hoping she got out of the car before it submerged. Chance says it's not likely. Nick theorizes that she got out, hit her head, and doesn't know where she is. The longer she's missing, the worse it looks for her. In the sewer, Cameron warns Sharon to start rationing her food and water. He's sure she can survive this. He was impressed with her strength when she told him goodbye. He wasn't sure she'd ever need him again. Sharon rants that she didn't kill Heather, but she made the horrible choices afterward and now may never be able to make it up to her family. Cameron's unmoved, and Sharon says guilt is what makes them human. She fears not being able to get free and make things right. Cameron advises her to find a way to fix that. In the motel room, Ian keeps checking his phone as Jordan harps about him driving himself crazy. She tells him he's panicking, and he protests that he's concerned about the lack of news. Jordan wants to turn the focus to Claire. Ian can't focus on anything until he knows if the cops are going to come to the door, accusing him of murdering Heather. Jordan says Sharon has been taken care of, but her needs haven't been attended to at all. She's starting to think they never will be. Chance and Nick join Michael and Victor at the ranch. His people have found out nothing about Sharon. Becoming agitated, Nick rants that Sharon can't have just disappeared. He declares that Ian knows where she is. Michael tells a bewildered Chance that there's a theory that Ian Ward is behind this. Nick stalks out. Victor tells Chance his son will look for Sharon. "I just hope it's not too late." After Chance leaves, Michael guesses that Nick went to see Ian. He warns they have to be careful, noting that Nick has been known to lose his temper. He's confirmed the police have a warning letter, so Nick can't go off on him. Victor feels his son won't cross that line. He crabs that Ian is a phony bastard walking around like a minister. He'll take that confidence away from him. Michael worries that Nick will deliver his message with his fists. At the motel, Nick hammers on the door and calls out to Ian, "I know you're in there." Jordan hides in the bathroom, and Ian grabs his Bible and opens the door. Nick demands to know what he's done with Sharon. In Lay, Damien tells Nate he's given him a lot to think about, but the whole meeting seems a little strange. Surreal even. He's not sure what to think about it, or Nate, for that matter. He'll need some time to think. Nate tells him he can't stay in town long. Damien asks him to send him the offer and he'll get back to him soon. Nate replies, "Fair enough." They shake hands and Nate says he looks forward to continuing their discussion. Damien says, "We'll see." In the sewer, Cameron wonders to Sharon if the person who brought her down there was involved in Heather's murder. He muses that Heather may have been incidental to it, in the wrong place at the wrong time. He thinks whoever did it wanted Sharon to do down for murder and didn't care who died. Sharon can't understand why. Cameron says all they know for sure is that they knew she'd be arrested. They didn't count on her framing Daniel to save herself. Sharon says that's the worst thing she's ever done. Cameron says killing him was worse, but he's biased. Sharon realizes he's right. As soon as the police reopened the investigation, she became a liability. Cameron's sure the culprit dragged her down there where no one would ever find her. Amy and Audra rejoin Nate in the cafe in LA. He confirms he met Damien and tells Amy he looked great, polished and poised. Amy asks if he mentioned her. Nate says no, but it wasn't that kind of meeting. Amy is thrilled they found him again and tells Nate that Audra distracted her with shopping. She's a good woman. They ask Nate if Damien took the bait. Nate tells them he honestly doesn't know. He made a good pitch and he didn't blink an eye. Nothing seemed to ruffle him. Amy says that wasn't her experience with him. You could hear their arguments down the street. Nate doesn't think he's interested in his offer. He gets the sense he's not looking for a change. Amy asks if he'll contact Nate again. Nate says he agreed to. Audra thinks that Nate should tell him the truth the next time he sees him. It's time to get real. In the sewer, Sharon asks Cameron if this person or people wanted to get rid of her so badly. Why did they leave her down there with food and water? Cameron doesn't know and muses that they need to find out who they are. Sharon wails about finding a way out of there. Cameron tells her to spit on her skinny wrist and try to wiggle out of that thing. Sharon's tried that already. They trade barbs as she says she regrets whatever part of her brain summoned him back. At the motel, Ian denies having anything to do with Sharon's disappearance on New Year's Eve. He can hardly be in two places at one time. He tells Nick he has the best possible alibi. Nick glares furiously at him. In the sewer, Sharon cries out for help. Cameron tells her she's wasting her breath and her strength. She needs to stay calm and think. Sharon cries that no one will look for her down there. She doesn't know what her family is thinking. Do they think she had another breakdown and took off? Sharon wouldn't blame them for thinking the worst. Except for Nick. Cameron sighs, Nick, always your knight. Sharon wonders if he'll piece this together. Cameron says, you'd better hope so. Sharon weeps. In the motel room, Nick accuses Ian of knowing exactly what happened to Sharon. All hell breaks loose and he shows up. It can't be a coincidence. Ian doesn't want to argue with him when he's upset. He offers to pray for Sharon. Nick tells him he'd better pray that nothing bad has happened to Sharon. If it has, he'll tear him apart. Next on The Young and the Restless, Nikki worries about Claire's safety, Jordan goes rogue, and Jack presses Kyle to come clean. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos recommends 5 books for turning your life around. Blinkist, Jeff Bezos' reading list. Explore the luxurious homes of the rich and famous Mansion Global.